a new journal that is being started called Chess, Education and Science. It has originated as the research journal for the Chess Scientific Research Institute, CSRI, at the Pedagogical University in Yerevan, Armenia. So what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of the background of the journal and the background of CSRI. And again, CSRI is the Research Institute in Yerevan. And when Vahan gets here, Vahan I'll ask him to share a bit about that. And of course, you can see Vahan is almost all the way on the right, except for one. So we're going to talk about the background. We're going to talk about the scope of the journal. I'll introduce the members of the editorial board, and then we'll talk about submissions, and then talk a little bit about why I think the journal is important, and then have an opportunity for questions. So, and again, Vahan will talk a little bit about that, but CSRI was founded in Armenia in 2018, and this was a cooperative effort between the Ministry of Education and Science in Armenia, and at that time the president of Armenia, who came from the chess community, Master Lputian, is chairman of the FIDE Chess and Education Commission, and one of the goals, of course, is to highlight chess as an educational subject in public schools. And so, of course, it helps to have a couple of conditions, which many countries do not have. So in Armenia, if the president says, I want this, and the Minister of Education says, yes, we will do this, then it will happen.
Ինչպես դեռ 2004 թվականին մենք քննարկում էինք շախմատի դպրոցի ներքելու շուրջ նախագահի
Chess education school asked me if is it possible to organize this program. I told maybe. Now I understand that time I was not imagining all possible problems. At that time there was lack of relevant information. Also, it was unclear how to organize, where from to start. The point which I made was that it's necessary to create environment in the schools in to form attitude towards chess. Therefore, we were able to secure a sponsor. We bought sets of chesses and distributed throughout the schools in that country. So giving them opportunity to use that to play chess in schools.
Yes. One is best Olympiad in the schools because all schools chess in education, yes, chess որտեղ արդեն դպրոցներում շախմատը կա, արդեն 11 թվականից, արդեն երեխաները.
So from 2011 it's an obligatory established subject. So
and many children study, know, play, and very, very interesting now in this Olympiad. Yes, very, very interesting.
Pedagogues, psychologists, methodologists, so wherever this kind of stuff was available, we started discussing them. So and we discussed what will be the program of the program of education.
And եւ բացի դրանից սկսեցին արդեն հավաքագրել այն մարդկանց, որոնք կարող էին լինել ուսուցիչներ.
So also we started to involve potential teachers.
Very most problem in this process is teachers. If you have good teachers, everything is okay. Maybe material is not good, but if teacher is well, you can have good result. But it's very, very difficult to have good teachers. And when I begin, it's very difficult to find 2,000 teachers because all the schools you must to have teachers. I begin find him. Sorry, my English is very good, but I probably yes. It's very difficult find because I have a yesuneshat bank nasıl yesuneshat metre. Bu azletike kahve banka.
So, without modesty, I had some influence in Imos. So there were no any problems with in relations with authorities, and this was a significant factor.
With government, I haven't problems because every mayor, government, every person I have meeting and I know him.
And they were supportive.
And they help me because the director in schools always they probably find persons who know chess and he is a teacher, yes, mathematics or physics or another during this period. It was two years. I find all persons, yes. And after when I have it's very difficult process. It's very difficult process because I'm go to 3,300 kilometers and have a meeting at simultaneous and play 14 or 50 persons. And after only 10 or 4 people I can
CSRI, the program, the institute at the Pedagogical University. And the Research Institute was also founded by Smbat in this process. So earlier this year, Mr. Lputian contacted me and asked me if I would serve as editor-in-chief for the journal, and I accepted with much fear and trepidation. My background is not as a journal editor. I do have an education background. I have a writing background. My bachelor's and master's degree is in English, so I have a writing background, and so both in education and other settings. So, but I understood that one of the important things for the success of the journal is to have an editorial board that crossed a lot of spectrums, that included people from around the world. And so we have, I think, an excellent editorial board, and you can see the names up here. I will ask Dr. Gobay to share a few things in just a little bit, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea. This is the origin of the journal. It's where it started, but here's where we're trying to go with it. But you can see the editorial board. Part of what we have done in the course of this year is the editorial board has met, and we divided into work groups so that we could address the scope and sort of technical aspects of what's the formatting going to be, how are we going to do certain processes such as peer review, those kinds of things, what technology will we be using. So that's been part of our process of laying the groundwork for the journal itself. The scope of the journal is designed to have as broad an outreach as possible. We want more than one audience. Certainly, well, let me talk about, so the 4 types, the 4 areas of the journal will be chess and education news, pedagogy, in other words, teaching methodologies related to chess and education, of course, research, and then also literature reviews. So these will be, in general, the 4 sections of each issue of the journal. So again, you can see that if you were a chess teacher, your interest might not lie in the research, because research will not help you teach your next class. On the other hand, if you are a researcher or you are in a position where you are trying to make the case that chess is beneficial, then research will be one of the tools that you would use. There's another aspect of this, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, in which knowing what's going on in chess and education is important for those who are trying to do it in a local context, but are not aware of what's going on internationally. You know, what's happening in other countries. In some cases, for example, in the United States, you could be actively involved in chess and education and have no idea what's going on in other parts of the United States. So the journal can then serve as this sort of resource for a variety of audiences, both from the education standpoint as well as those who are doing chess and education. And then, you know, you've got several aspects. So it's not just about children playing chess in a tournament or children receiving, you know, so there's a lot of aspects in terms of psychological, sociological, pedagogical, and then just simply the chess aspect. What is a good way to be teaching, you know, a certain aspect of chess, or dealing with the psychological issues. I know that one of our speakers yesterday dealt with some issues of fear and of making mistakes, and how women may or girls may react differently than males. So anyway, there will be a broad, it will not just simply be a journal that has only chess research projects of a certain kind. So there's a lot of research in a lot of areas. Chess forms the basis for a lot of research in more than just, you know, is chess good for education? So, you know, that one of the goals of the journal is to include these kind of articles. I think the journal is important for at least 3 reasons. First of all, to create awareness. Dr. Gobet, would you like to say something about the journal and maybe some vision that you have or your experience?
Years ago, there was a journal called American Chess Journal, I think, which was a bit, the idea was a bit the same. So to have a journal about science, literature, and basically not really about the game itself, but different aspects of the game. And there were some very good articles published there, but it lasted only 3 or 4 issues, and then it disappeared. And about I don't know, maybe between 5 and 10 years ago, there was a new attempt in the US, and I don't remember the name of the journal, but it was published, well, one of the editors was Susan Polgar. And that new journal had the same remit as this one, so really science and chess. I think there was only 1 issue published. And well, I'm part of the editorial board of this journal. I haven't heard anything, so I suppose it has disappeared. But they still have a website. So, but again, only 1 issue. From the point of view of a scientific journal, well, if you want to be recognized, as you mentioned the other day, it's very important to have a very good first issue. At least, well, also the second one as well. So if you publish very strong articles with known people, then researchers are going to recognize the journal as well, a possible outlet, and they send their own papers. So if this journal manages to get an impact factor, which takes several years, which is not that easy, then, well, that's great, because it's a recognized journal and academics can publish there, and universities are happy if you publish there. If you don't get an impact factor.
We got in the Spanish language a very good journal about chess. It's Psychology Chess from the Universitat La Laguna, Universitat de les Illes Baleares, and Girona University. And this is for about 10 years, I think. So yes, 10 years. So for about 10 years, some people, me too, working in this kind. So we got a little experience in the Spanish language.
Իր շուրջ կանգնած այդ անդամները շատ լավ համագործակցություն ունենան։
And he believes that the team surrounding him will have very good cooperation.
Ես ստացվում որ Հայաստանում
benefit as a researcher because here I see researchers and I'm very happy to see you all and I appreciate your presence, your interest in creating a journal. Mr. Gobet, for example, your book is my everyday book. I know you from books and chess styles and psychological styles of chess players. You, of course, as a researcher, I have my disagreement with you. So about cards and styles, but it is normal. So I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy that you are involved. Because first of all, we were going to introduce our government, the results of our research. So that chess is very good, etc., etc. But then we see that we have many problems and challenges beyond success. So, and we must face them. And then we were involved in research which was going to find some problems, challenges that we must face. Then we came up with decision that the research that we have done is not only for our government or our country, and how to share it. It is possible to share it with via websites, etc. But if we want to have audience, very strong, very serious people like you, we must do it in appropriate way, like journal. So journal must be very inclusive, and it should include many people, researchers, scientists from many countries. Just the day before yesterday, I met a nice person from Kenya. She said that they do research in Kenya. I didn't hear about it, and you didn't hear about our research, and some our research. So we have done many researches that we haven't shared yet. So, the scope of journal, we have developed some standards for the authors, instructions for authors, and we shared with our colleagues, with you, Mr. Gobe, online, and we have developed some citation styles, etc. But it is very difficult to establish journal which is already new, which is new journals. So we have journals in chess in America. I noticed that journal. I found the website, but I found that they had only 2 or 3 articles, and then they stopped because the planning was not so good. I suppose.